is the most anticipated college football game between the Huskies and the Ducks that have ever happened. And I'm sick and tired of these dubbed up guys coming on here and telling me, welcome to the Dubbed Up Husky Football Podcast. You guys, we have an absolute barn burner in front of us. 2 top 10 teams, the Huskies, the Ducks, college football playoff implications on the line, game days here, Heisman implications on the line. You do not want to miss this breakdown. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell in the top right corner to join the Dubbed Up VIP Discord down in the description below. We hope you enjoy the episode. Go Dogs, baby.
Welcome to Dubbed Up Podcast. It's a big, big week. It's hate week, boys. I'm your host, Mike Flaunt. I got Izzo and Noah with me. All right, fellas, we've been waiting since last year. Since we got done with the Alamo Bowl last year, we've been waiting for this game. It's been circled on our calendars. We're playing Oregon. Are you boys ready? Come on, let me know. Izzo, tell me what's up.
Both these teams are so good, man, and there's so much on the line for both teams, whether that has to do with recruiting, whether that has to do with the Heisman race or just CFP implications. Like, this is a massive, massive game, and I know UW fans are going to show out, so I'm freaking stoked, anxious, all of the above with everybody. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to get after it.
Noah, what do you think? 2 5-0 teams, both ranked in the top 10, 2 Heisman candidates. This is amazing. This is what we've been waiting for.
It really is, man. And it's dude, this is put up or shut up. You know,
really
I saw something today that said, you know, the winner of this game has like an 80+ percentage to play for the Pac-12 championship, you know, and the loser drops all the way into like the 50 percentile. So you're gonna need a lot of help to get there. Man, it's what it's about. This is why you hear coaches talk about this all the time. This is why you come to X university. This is why you come play, you know, here, play in these big games. I mean, this is the game that you know, like I said before, man, this is where you have bragging rights for 365, man. You know, this is the border war, the I-5 corridor, man. This is what it's about, and it's exciting. And I'll tell you what, man, thank you, Lord, that this game's on Montlake, man, because that crowd is going to be electric.
It's going to be electric. Now, I know that as Husky fans and the Oregon fans are looking at this as the border war, but if you're looking at this from a national perspective, most people are going to be talking about the Heisman race and the battle between the 2 Heisman candidates. And we're pulling out all the stops. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the new Michael PENIX4HEISMAN Campaign commercial that dropped today. And Izzo, I saw you had your artwork made appearance on everything awesome today. What do we think about that? How do we feel about this Heisman campaign that we're running, and how do you think the university's doing pushing Michael PENIX right now?
It's fantastic on so many levels. There's so much hidden meaning in the bow and arrow, in the Robin Hood, in just everything that Mike is doing with the bow and arrow. And I know he's been doing it for a while, but I got to give a nod to the UW marketing team for picking up on the opportunity of having so many layers of different like meanings for what they're doing with this, whether that's, you know, Robin Hood, you know, take it from the poor or take it from the rich and give it to the poor, and highlighting Mike's philanthropy that, you know, a lot of people don't know a ton about. And you know, he doesn't look for recognition with that, but he does it, and this is a really cool way to highlight that. The fact that it's got bow and you know, I know it's a different bow. We're talking about a shooting arrow and everything like that, but I just love all the layers.
It is.
It's entertaining and
it's definitely
flattering.
It's definitely fun. It's definitely fun, especially because, you know, not only are they hyping up this Heisman campaign, which I think we all feel really good about what they're doing to push Michael PENIX, because I know people were worried about that coming into the season. But the fact that it's happening, and maybe the biggest game in this rivalry's history, I mean, it says a lot for where we're at as a program right now, but also for how I really like how they're springboarding the Heisman campaign off of the hype of this game. You know what I'm saying? It's really working together really, really well. But no, I was going to ask you this. Do you think this is the biggest game in the history of this rivalry? Do you think there's ever been a game bigger than this up till now?
No, I don't. And I mean, I think you're seeing it. It's the hottest ticket on the West Coast, if not in the country. I mean, we've said it, but number 7 versus number 8, all the implications for the championship and the college football playoff, the hate that goes into this game, the rivalry that this game has produced. I mean, our state schools from Oregon and Washington have kind of took a step back, there used to be the Big Apple Cup, the Civil War, but man, this is really become the West Coast rivalry. And, I want to make sure to say this, dude, it is going to be so loud at Husky Stadium. I think in 1992, we played a game against Nebraska where we were a top 5 team, and the decibels hit 133.6, I think, in that game. Dude, do not be surprised if this thing breaks 133. Dude, you're gonna have Fowler there, you're gonna have Herbie there, you're gonna have their sideline reporter with the little decibel meter. Dude, they're gonna play all into this, and dude, I'm telling you, it is going to be electric, man. Arrive early, be loud, drink your beers. Hell, bring a catheter if you have to. Don't leave your seats. Stomp your feet, man. It's gonna be fire, man. And I'm telling you, this is what it's about, and this is why, man, being on a podcast of your team, your university, man, makes it so fun.
It is, and the hype is real because we're talking about the national stage, and we have game day going to be here. And I like how you said get there early because game day starts at 6 a.m. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah. 0600, baby. 0600.
Izzo, what do you think about game day 6 a.m.? And are we going to see anything special there? I'm curious.
Oh yeah. You definitely we'll have some signage. I know plenty of other signage will be present. You got your UW animal, your SLU provisions.
Okay.
And it's gonna be fun. And if anybody remembers back in the day, man, you got to get there at like 5:30 in the morning and get your spot locked up because it is bright and squirrely, man. And it gets wild real early in the morning. It's gonna be dark. But yeah, I'm so pumped. We've been preparing all week in the Discord, getting our sign ready, getting the PVC pipes ready, making sure the signs show up where they need to show up. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see like what celebrity you guys think? Who you guys think is going to be the guy?
Man, give me Isaiah Thomas, man.
I know
that would be tight.
IT. I would love to see IT. Nothing against Mina Kimes, but I mean, man, I just don't. She doesn't have that dog feel to me. That I would love to see like Brandon Roy, Isaiah Thomas, or even like an old time. How about like Warren Moon or
he'll definitely
like
be
that. Yeah, I mean, heck, get Mario Bailey, man. Show that jersey. I mean, get a dog that's had a profound impact on the university athletically. That's who I'd really, really want to see. Because I know we have some like actors and stuff, but dude, give me one of the ex-athletes. That's why
I want to see all of them. I want to see all of them. I want Mina Kimes. I want Warren Moon. I want Dubs the dog. I mean, if Jimi Hendrix can show up, I want Jimi Hendrix there too. I want this. This is the big game. Everybody needs to show up and show out because it is Oregon week. So how about we jump right into it? I mean, we have 2 teams that, as much as I hate to say it, are very equally matched. They look, I mean, Oregon right now is playing really, really good football. They're playing a lot better than they did 2 weeks ago, like when we saw them play Texas Tech, or 3 weeks ago, maybe that was. What are we seeing? What do we think? If you're Oregon and you're coming into Husky Stadium, also, have we got an idea what the weather's supposed to be like this weekend?
I've seen it. I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it back and forth. I mean, it looks like it's definitely going to be rain, 50%ish rain. 12:30 kickoff. The 12:30 kickoff might actually save us because it looks like the rain might actually hit a little bit harder later in the afternoon. So maybe the 12:30 kickoff from the football gods actually was a blessing in disguise.
So if we're going to be getting if we're going to be dealing with the elements, I mean, we know what these games are like, especially these October games when fall's really hitting. Schematically, if you're Oregon, schematically offensively, what do you have to do if you're Oregon to be successful in this game?
Yeah, the very first thing is that I noticed when kind of like, breaking their film down is it's actually wild. Dude, Oregon is literally a 50-50 run to pass. Dude, they've thrown the ball 163 times. They've rushed the ball 161 times. So
Oh wow.
I think what you see from that is they're just balanced. And I mean, I think that's kind of what Lanning wants to do. And I mean, you see that with Bo Nix. He can throw the ball, but I mean, he kind of keeps the defense, on their heels, a little bit on their toes, making sure that they're tracking, his running ability as well. But the very first thing I think they're going to try to do is they're going to really try to establish the run. If they can control the clock by establishing the run, what does that do? It keeps our offense, the University of Washington offense, off the field. So I think that's the very first thing they're going to want to do is try to establish that run.
Agreed. I think the only way to keep the best defense against a high-powered offense is has your offense having long, sustained drives and only giving them one or two possessions a quarter. That way, Michael Penix and them guys can't do what we're accustomed to doing. Izzo, when you see the balance, what do you think makes their running game so effective?
Yeah, what's interesting comparing last year to this year for Oregon is that you actually see a slight decrease in their efficiency on the offensive line for the running game, and you see less. This might have been expected after what happened to them last year, but they don't do as much bow design runs. And so what I picked up on was that they're still very explosive. They have three home run hitters really in the backfield: Jordan James, Noah Whittington, and Bucky Irving. And all three of those guys can beat you. But what you see is a slight difference.
Remember Whittington's out, that injury.
Right, right. Oh, yeah. So either way, you've got multiple running backs who can hit the home run right on the ground. What you don't see is you don't see them getting tons of 6-yard chunks, 8-yard chunks, those different types of things like that compared to last year. You still see them come through every once in a while, but what you're trying to do if you're UW in this game as they try to contend and establish the run against us is you've got to limit the explosive plays on the ground. So that they're doing that more often this year, and that could have something to do with the opponents that they've played and the defenses that they're facing. But if you can limit if you can keep their running game from producing like 4 or 5 15-yard plus chunks on the ground, I think UW can control this game a little bit more effectively as they look forward to this game. So that's kind of what I'm looking for from that standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, these are interesting numbers. So right now, their top two running backs are Bucky Irving and Jordan James. Bucky Irving's averaging 7.9 yards per carry. Jordan James is averaging 8.7, and Whittington was averaging 7.3. That's that's a lot of first downs, especially for the running game, and it's something we're going to definitely have to watch out. Now, I also noticed,
one thing on that real quick, Mike. Mm-hmm. As important as that is, I mean, if you go look at because that's a great point. Go look at the Texas Tech game though. You look at Bucky Irving; he's only averaging 3.5 yards a rush in that game, and Jordan James is only averaging like 2. He only had 4 carries, but even look at Noah Whittington in that game. He's averaging 3.0. So against a more stout defense, against an opponent on the road where the stadium's just absolutely electric. There's a lot of people that would say the Big 12. Jones Stadium down in Lubbock is like one of the loudest stadiums in the Big 12. Dude, you're going to get that again on Saturday. Am I saying that we can just completely shut down their run game? No. But what I am saying though is that offensive line is not what it was last year. Dude, they had an absolute cohesive unit last year. Dude, they all knew exactly what they were doing. A bunch of veterans. Now, did they bring in some good pieces? Absolutely. Brought the kid in from UConn, had the kid from Texas. I mean, they have some very good pieces, but having that cohesive unit to get those big explosive chunk plays. Can it happen? Absolutely. But I think that's a little bit different when you see a top shelf type defense, or at least a above average to good defense like they're going to see on Saturday.
Yeah, and if we can keep the noise going, we can force them, because they have been susceptible to penalties.
I think that those stats that you guys are looking at is, again, kind of indicative of the fact that they will like struggle a little bit, and then bam, it's an 80-yard run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just limit those explosive runs, and you can kind of enforce your will and kind of play into a specific scheme on the defensive side of the ball, which we'll talk a little bit more about here.
Yeah. Now, not only can these guys run, but they also could throw the ball. I was watching a bunch of the film, and I mean, I saw Bo Nix being able to hit Troy Franklin. They seem to have a nice connection. If we're looking at the passing game, what are we thinking are the key components to making the passing game move like that? Izzo, what do you think?
Yeah. Again, it's somewhat, well, it's a little bit different. The passing game, the numbers again this year for Oregon have been indicative of efficiency. They're not throwing the long ball as much. But when they are, they're not as successful in doing that, obviously. But I mean, even comparison to last year, they're less successful on the deep ball this year. So where I see Bo kind of and their new OC playing to his strengths is they're checking the ball down a little bit more, screens, intermediate stuff, and not taking these big long shots. And again, I think some of that is dictated by game flow. But in games where they're not just, let's exclude garbage time, they are very efficient in the 10 to 20-yard pass from Bo. And one thing that Juicy Jensen pointed out, which I think you can see this when you watch him, is he throws a dart, man. And what Penix, I think, has a little bit of an edge on Bo with is that Penix puts a little bit more loft, a little more carry underneath his ball. And so when Bo tries to throw something deep, he puts a lot of velocity behind that ball, and there isn't a lot of carry on it. And so you might be able to take advantage or get the pick against Bo when he tries to throw that deep ball. So I'll look for a similar type of start from them offensively, to where they're not challenging us deep. But that also could be a kind of a two-headed sword there, because they may try to switch things up for this game and try to hit you with the deep ball, depending upon what UW shows on their defensive front at the beginning of the game. So it'll be an interesting thing to see how they operate within.
Yeah, Noah, when if you're looking at that Oregon offense from a defensive perspective, it seems like they can hit you in a bunch of different ways, and especially in the passing game, because they have a lot of their passes are not downfield. They're kind of out to the edges, like quick screens, bubble screens, stuff like that. Do you see that as one of their big ways of attacking us going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you're going to do as a coach, right, you're going to watch our current film, but then they're also going to go back and watch last year's film too, and see like, hey, what did we do against Washington? This is the same coaching staff. What did we do against Washington that was successful? And go back and look. The first thing they'll see is we missed a lot of tackles. And so they're going to say like, okay, they missed a lot of tackles last year. Well, let's see if they're going to miss a lot of tackles again. So what's Bo going to do? I think schematically looking at that, they're going to say, let's get the ball out on the edges. Let's get the ball out with quick hits, like you're saying, get it to our athletes and let them go to work. And can UW come up and make open field tackles? Because, dude, I'll tell you, they got a lot of athletes. I mean, Troy's kind of their over-the-top hitter, but, I mean, they got Gary Bryant Jr., the transfer from USC. They have the Tez Johnson kid, Trayshawn Holden out of Alabama. So they brought in a lot of pieces that can be electric. And, the Noah Whittington, losing him, I think there's a lot of people, including myself, because Noah Whittington ate us up last year. He's so quick, super twitchy, bursty. But, dude, that Jordan James kid, dude, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and obviously so can Bucky. So getting the ball into their athletes' hands, I think they're going to want to see can UW, really make those tackles in open field to shut us down.
Great point.
Yeah. Their offense is very potent. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we move to the defensive side of the ball with Oregon, as far as what we think their offense is going to do to try to attack our defense. Because there's definitely, if you look at the film of our defense, there's definitely some holes at times. They seem to get them plugged up, but then they kind of the poor tackling, I think, is the poor tackling is the one I guess I'm the most worried about, just because when you're playing laterally like that with guys that are quick and move fast like that, that's where if you don't make a sure tackle, there's nobody behind you on the edge to make that tackle. Where if they're running up the middle, you might have your linebackers, but then some safeties behind them. On the edges, you don't have that. And so I'm kind of worried about the tackling when it comes to that. And if I was Oregon, that's what I would want to attack.
I will say this. This is why maybe playing Arizona on the road played to the benefit of UW, is that there were some missed tackles against Arizona, but there wasn't nearly the amount as there was last year when we played Oregon. So I'm actually on the other side where I'm a little bit more encouraged by the open field tackling that we have here. Now, granted, I agree. I think there's a lot more speed, like a lot more different players on the field for Oregon that all have speed, whereas I think Arizona has just less playmakers, right, that can make you miss in the open field. But from the DBs, you know, what I saw from Vince Nunley, what I'm seeing from Dom Hampton, what I'm seeing from Mish, these are all guys who we didn't really have at 100% last year, right? So I think there's reasons for optimism that we can come back and kind of make up for that lost ground, especially again with Asa returning. You've got a healthy mix of DBs that I think can make the open field tackle. Are they going to make every single one? Probably not, but are they going to make most? I think that they are.
Dude, Izzo, I think that's a really let me say something real quick, Mike. I think that's a really good point, because if you actually look at our defense, we've actually moved guys around. I mean, remember Green played a ton in this game last year. And you know, we brought in Jabbar Muhammad, who I don't know if he's gonna I'll talk a little bit about this in the matchup, but you know, is he gonna spy Troy? But I mean, what do we do with Mish? We put Mish into that Husky role, put Dom back in the safety. And dude, Mish, like we've said multiple times, dude, he might be our best open field tackler on our team. And kind of getting him off that island in that man-to-man defense and allowing him to kind of go to work, tackle Bucky Irving out of the backfield, tackle Jordan James, the big boy Ferguson, their tight end. We've kind of actually set our defense up to be a lot more, just really use the strengths they have. Eddie's going to be back fully healthy. If you remember last year, this was Eddie's first game. And you could see Eddie made some big plays, but you could still see that he was kind of, you know, rusty a little bit. Dude, he's full go, ready to go. So, dude, everyone talks about, you know, we just got to be above average, you know, average defense, above average defense. Dude, I think these guys are ready to go to really show, like, dude, we can be a good defense, and let's show it against this elite Oregon offense.
I'm a firm believer that if we can get 3 extra stops, we should win this game no problem.
Yep.
3 extra stops, and I think we win this game no problem, because our offense has a way of turning that into a snowball effect, where next thing you know, you're down 21-17 or 21 to 17 points because we've scored 3 times in 3 drives. Anything else we want to hit on with the Oregon offense before we switch over to the defensive side of the board? I know one of the things I was going to point out was I noticed how Troy Franklin has about double the receptions as the next closest guy, which is Gary Bryant. If we shut down Troy Franklin, do you feel that's like a kind of a linchpin to helping stop what their offense can do? Or do you think guys like Bryant, Tez Johnson, and some of the running backs can really make a difference when it comes to what their offense does in the passing game?
Yeah, we'll talk about this more, but I kind of see what I would like to see from our defense in our installs against Oregon's offense is to try to actually let Troy and Bo try to beat you deep. And so it depends for me on what they're going to do with Troy, especially against Jabbar. I want to see the defense play. I want to see them be aggressive against the run and throw some different things at Oregon that they haven't seen maybe on tape, some different blitz packages and things like that. And then see if you could go try. You're going to have to try to score with us if we're going to bring guys up in the box. I'll take Penix and Rome deep, Penix and Jalen McMillan, Penix and Jalen Polk deep versus your Bo Nix dart throws deep, which has been less efficient this year. So to me, a successful day from Troy Franklin does not equate to an Oregon win at UW.
Okay. So we see how potent their offense is. One of the things that's been maybe even surprising to some is the defense has been a lot better this year for Oregon than it was last year. If you're Oregon on defense, how are you scheming to play UW? I mean, we saw Arizona had more success than anybody else so far this year against the UW defense by dropping 7 to 8 people in coverage and making Michael Penix throw the ball on those intermediate routes, which he did a really good job doing. And you saw the running backs be able to pick up the weight and run the ball in. Do you think Oregon is going to attack us in a similar manner? Because I feel like Oregon's got better athletes than Arizona, even on both sides of the ball, but especially on D. Do you see them changing up the schematics from what they saw at Arizona when it comes to playing UW, Noah?
Yeah, I think they actually want to be able to beat you in their base defense, because I think that they believe, and I would probably believe it as well, I think they're at their best when they're in their base defense. they had that the Bassa kid, who he's a lot different than the Justin Flows of the world, or the Noah Sewells, who are your big run stopping. I mean, they have linebackers who can run sideline to sideline and make a lot of plays. They can run with their running backs, and so I think that's really what they want to do. They want to keep their athletes on the field. They want to get home with 4. When I say get home with 4, they want to show you that they can get to your quarterback, with just their front 4. They bring a lot of different pressures, but I think that's kind of the big thing is if they can get home with 4, play their base defense, I think that's how they can get Michael Penix off their spot, or at least in their idea to be most successful is play base, get home with 4, and that's how we'll be successful.
They do have 18 sacks on the season right now, and that's a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Izzo, what do you think?
I think that they're going to have to bring more than 4, to be honest with you, because I think what UW's probably going to try to do is establish Dylan Johnson a little bit in this game and try to dictate the game with a balanced offense, maybe more so than what people assume. And so if they're going to drop back and drop a bunch of DBs into coverage against this team, I think that Grubb is probably like, perfect, go for it. Like we said last week, if you want to do that, you don't forget, you've only seen 1 week of healthy Dylan Johnson, and he ate up a defense. And he can make guys miss. And so to me, I see Oregon, while they would like to get home on 4, I really would take our offensive line versus their D line in a 4-on-5 situation. And knowing that Grubb is looking for this type of thing, I assume what they're going to do is they're going to try to scheme some 1-2 read type plays over the middle and utilize the tight end quite a bit. So I kind of expect, probably from both teams, to be honest, but it really, because Oregon has done this a lot with the multiple tight end sets, I think UW's probably going to do that too and try to expose quick routes to the tight end. And so if you think we've got 6 down linemen, 2 of them are tight ends, and you've got Westy and Colt or Cuevas going out on routes, I think you're going to have to blitz UW to get Mike uncomfortable, because I think I just would take our offensive line, especially with multiple tight end sets, against a 4-man or a 5-man rush from Oregon.
Really quick, Mike, another thing on that is with Dan Lanning coming over from Kirby Smart, that defense, they have a lot of pre-snap movement. They want to show a blitz coming from the A gap and then bring a cornerback off the edge. They want to show 2 linebackers walked up in the B gap, and then one blitzes, one drops in coverage, and a defensive end drops in coverage. I mean, they really want to show you a lot of different things. And you know why I love having a veteran signal caller is games exactly like this.
Yeah.
Dude, he's seen all of that. He saw that against the Big Ten teams in Indiana. He's seen it for the last, 2 years in the Pac-12. So, I mean, that is just such a what's the saying? Something of the riches. It's just, dude, we're just lucky to have Michael Penix,
Yeah.
man. You know, and it's
Embarrassment
like
of riches.
exactly embarrassment of the riches, man. We have an NFL signal caller still in college. So man, when he sees it, hey, quick check down, or using your tight end sets, your two tight end sets. Hey, we'll keep one in on a hot call, right? And then we'll have a delayed route to Westy over the middle, you know, for the release valve. It's an abundance of riches, an embarrassment of riches to have Mike here to be able to really truly understand this offense and be able to make all the calls.
That's true. And I also think all the motion that we have in our offense, like the pre-snap motion where we're moving guys around, that helps expose what they're doing. If they're blitzing and they want to attack certain gaps, they can't move their linebackers with the motion, which will be like, hey, we could see there's an uneven number over here. Let's slide the protection. And I think that's one of the things that, like I said, with Penix, it kind of looks like he's playing Madden sometimes, figuring out what they're doing by moving guys around. And I think that's going to be what he does to really expose if they're bringing extra pressure. Because I agree with what you said about them not. 4 guys might not be enough because our offensive line is that good. So if we were going to break this down to a couple keys to what is going to be the keys for Oregon to get a victory, what are those keys to victory for Oregon? Ooh, I just hate saying it. Just doesn't taste good coming out.
Dude, when I really think about this game, dude, I know I've said this multiple times. I've put it in the Discord. I've put it on Twitter. But this game being on Montlake, 72,000 plus, maybe like we said, probably the biggest game in the 100-year history of this rivalry. The crowd is going to be absolutely insane. And I think the biggest key to this game for Oregon is they come out, score early, or get a couple quick stops. Because I think if they don't do that, I don't think they're going to be able to take the crowd out of the game. And, you know, the Seahawks have the 12th man. I'm telling you, man, this is going to be in a loud environment. And like I think Izzo said this, dude, there's guys that played in the SEC that have transferred into both schools. There's guys who've played in the Big 10, Big 12 who transferred into both schools. I don't know if anybody on these two 85-man rosters have played in an environment that's going to be like this on Montlake on Saturday afternoon. So take some early stops from Oregon against UW and try to score early, because if not, man, the crowd's going to be going all day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that if you're Oregon, you want to go into half with a lead, to be honest with you. I think if you're to Noah's point about the crowd, like you can't fall behind. You can't fall more than one score behind it on this team. You know, we could easily talk about like, hey, you got to limit turnovers, you have to limit penalties, and both of those things literally could be the deciding factor as to who wins or loses this game. But if I'm Oregon, I want to make sure that I go into half with a lead in this game, because if you come out of the tunnel, and here's what we talked about this in the Discord, like you know, if you're UW and you win the toss, what do you want? I want the ball first and let's kick to them in the second half, because I want us to go up early, and I want them to have to play from behind and take them out of their scheme, what they want to do, as much as humanly possible. So to me, that's a huge thing for Oregon. They have to, just like we said, we want to take it away. They need some explosive runs in this game. And I think if I'm UW, I'm not stacking the box entirely, but I'm certainly rushing 6 or 7 guys, or just making sure that they're keyed in on the backfield and try to take that away. Because like we said, they're efficient in checkdowns in the passing game, intermediate pass, explosive runs, and beating you that way and imposing their will. And I think if you can get them out of that, if you can break that rhythm for them and limit those big runs, that's going to be massive. It's going to be really big and tough for them to come out of. If you're going to play with a 10-point deficit in this game, and Bo's going to try to beat you over the top, I mean, go for it.
Take it all day.
Try.
Yeah,
This is not the same defensive back room as it was last year, man. I know that they think that they're going to want to pass. You know, they're going to go pass happy against this defensive back room. Like, okay, go for it, bud.
Try it. Yeah, it's a different room. It's a far different room than it was last year.
100%.
You know, if I'm going to say keys to the game, for me, it's up front. I think the trenches are what's going to matter the most. If it's raining, if it's wet, who can push who is going to be what dictates the outcome of this game, because running game is going to matter, and then pressure on the quarterback and the passing game is going to matter a ton. And so if both O lines are both really good, I believe they're ranked right next to each other, like top 5 in sack rate, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to crack? If somebody can find a weakness in the other team's offensive line, I think that's going to be the team that ends up fumbling and falling. And that's what's going to end up mattering specifically for Oregon, is they're going to have to win in the trenches for them to have any chance of success on Saturday. Now flipping to the other side of the ball, or to the other team, the good team, our boys wearing purple, the good guys. What do we see the keys to the game on offense for the Huskies? I mean, we've watched this team, and they're the most explosive offense in college football right now. Are we going to be able to maintain that in inclement weather against a top 10 team? That's a big question. Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, keeping PENIX clean is going to be huge. You know, a lot of people talk about, we run the ball to set up the pass game. You know, we want to go play action. But I actually think UW is kind of the opposite. I think we want to throw the ball. We want to keep PENIX upright, dish the ball all over the field, because then teams have to now, what do we got to do? We got to bring, put more guys, we got to drop more guys in coverage, and then that'll allow us to run the ball. So if we can keep PENIX clean, I think that'll allow our offense in general just to run a hell of a lot more smoothly.
All right, Izzo?
I wish I had my glasses right around me right now, because this is going to be somewhat of a hot take. I think the most important thing for UW in this game is to control time of possession and to limit turnovers and to limit penalties, right? And I know I said that was kind of like an eye-rolling thing, but it's true.
It's real though.
Get Dylan Johnson going early. Why not a 6.5, 7-minute drive to start the game where you just strip the will right out of your opponent, like right from the jump? And they would go, well, we thought this was a passing offense, and we were going to see Mike toss the ball all over the yard, and then it's just Dylan Johnson just imposing his will on the defensive line here. I think that, like, they showed us that they have a strength that they haven't really unleashed yet, other than in that game. And I wouldn't mind controlling the clock against what Oregon has in a high-powered offense, which is similar to Arizona. Arizona has a high-powered offense. You don't need to that game. We look at the box score and it's misleading. We were about to go up by 21 points in the fourth quarter, doing against a high-powered offense. So give the ball to Dylan Johnson and then let them kind of freak out a little bit. Like, dang, he's getting 7-yard chunks, 8-yard chunks. And then have him creep up a little bit and let Ryan Grubb just start to pick apart this defense and let Tosh try to – we talked about this last week – Tosh try to out-coach and out-scheme Ryan Grubb in the middle of this football game. I'm taking Ryan Grubb 100 times out of 100 in that. So get Dylan Johnson going, get the tight ends open in the middle of the field. We all watched the Texas Tech game again here. What I saw was the tight ends catching – just absolutely being way too big and athletic for their defensive backs. I mean, why not do that with us? I mean, we're so hyper-focused on the receivers that we have, and they are all weapons. But, boy, like, we have absolute weapons at the tight end position. And why not let the way that you win this game be how beautiful would it be if it's the running backs and the tight ends that shred the Oregon defense and let us control the clock and be methodical. And that's what I think can be keys. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that those are going to be the keys to the game for UW, is we're going to surprise everybody with that type of approach.
So I noticed this when I was watching the film that Oregon has a tendency to play a lot of two deep safeties. And if we're playing with, say, we have three receivers and the tight ends out, that's going to leave the center of the field open. So I think running up the middle, and I think the tight ends going up the seams is what's going to be open in that like 5 to 10 yard area, because they're going to be spread so far. And I think that if we can get holes if the offensive line can really get in there and start pushing these guys around in great holes, you're going to see 5 to 7 yard chunks in the running game a bunch. So I agree with you there. All right. Besides, so we got into the running game, but I mean, we know our bread and butter is the passing game. Izzo, when you're watching our pass game and you're looking at their secondary room, we have everybody back. Rome's back, Jalen's back. We also got Polk, and we have Jeremy Bernard, who's kind of emerging right now as a big time playmaker. Does Oregon have the horses to keep up with this passing game?
No, and I won't steal Noah's thunder here because I know he wants to talk about this because he pointed this out. But to answer your question quickly, and then I'll pitch to Noah here, is the answer is no. Like, I don't fear anybody in this defensive back room. I think they got Evan Williams is a great safety. Do I think if you put them on an island, if you just go matchup for matchup, do I think that any of our receivers could burn any of their defensive backs? Literally, I think the answer is yes on every single one of them in a one-on-one matchup. But yeah, I'll pitch to you. I know you got some things to say on this for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest thing that I saw was, going back and looking at Oregon's, really trying to watch their film. I mean, Portland State, Hawaii, Colorado, Stanford. I mean, it's really hard for me to grasp that film and find anything that I really could chew on. So I went back and watched the Texas Tech game, and man, their secondary looks slow to me. And I know they've got the names. I know they got the Kyrie Jacksons. I know they got the Tysheem Johnsons from Ole Miss. And I mean, I know they got all these new guys, Evan Williams, like you said. But man, dude, this isn't Stanford, man. This isn't Texas Tech. I mean, dude, we have 4 bona fide playmakers on the outside. And dude, we have Devin Culp, who runs like a legit 4.5, 4.6 40, who's got juice coming out, coming out the yin yang. Dude, I'm telling you, man. I mean, I promise you, Tosh Lapoy is going, how do I slow these guys down? And they've already said, we're not going to drop 7. We're not going to drop 8. But, dude, if they're going to run the 2 high deep safeties, dude, let's run 4 verticals on them and put their safeties in a bind. Who do I take? And then as they all bail out, dude, we'll run something over the middle. And here comes Jeremy Bernard, the Yak King, to just eat them alive. I'm telling you, this is going to be a game where they're going to have to make a couple adjustments. And if they don't, dude, UW's going to beat them by 2 touchdowns. And it's going to be because they're secondary.
Well, so no, what do you think then about, because we're talking about the pass game, what do you think about the 2 linebackers being able to stick with our running backs, with Nixon or Johnson?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, I'm blanking on their linebacker. I think it's
Bryce.
Bossa's. The other one's Bryce Bosher. I think.
Bosher. Yeah, something like that.
No, they can both run. And you know who's kind of this unsung hero we never talk about. And I know we kind of say oh, did you see Will Nixon? Did you see the screenplay, dude? I'm not sure. I think Bossa can. I don't think that Bryce Bosher kid can run with Will Nixon. I think both those guys are converted safeties that are a little bit bigger body guys. So I think they're going to try, but in the end, I think Grubb is just going to be able to outsmart these guys. I really do. I think he'll schematically put our guys in the right positions. And that's why I went back, and that was my keys earlier, was if they can't get home with 4 and we can keep Mike clean, I think that our offensive playmakers are seriously, we're just better than them. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree. Izzo, you got anything else to chime in on this before we move to the key players?
I'll just say this. I see them. I would much rather be UW scheming on defense for Oregon than I would for Oregon to scheme against UW. And so, we've said it now multiple times, like we want to see the Ryan Grubb, Tosh Lapoy like showdown, because there's just too many playmakers, and you've got too creative of an offense to deal with if you're Oregon. And I think from a defensive standpoint for UW, like, and Oregon's going to try to do this too, is you're going to try to make the quarterback uncomfortable. One thing that a lot of quarterbacks have had success with against Oregon is when they get outside of the pocket. And I want to see if they're going to rush four. I wouldn't mind seeing Mike get comfortable with bouncing outside a little bit and extending a play, and maybe having, we haven't seen a whole lot of that this year, where like Mike has needed to create something and be willing to run. But a lot of quarterbacks who've been dual threat have had success with them by, being like, I don't see an immediate option here. Let me bust out and get you 7-8 yards on a quick carry. And I think I wouldn't mind seeing Mike be a little bit more willing, or, he hasn't not been willing, but like expose that a little bit. Feel free.
You want to see him run a little bit more. Yeah. So we're talking about the play as we move into the players. We've kind of already talked about the wide receiver unit. We kind of talked about DJ running, especially against that defensive line. But what we haven't talked about is the UW interior offensive line. I mean, they're young. I know we get Bulow back for this game. I believe I read that earlier today. How do you think that interior holds up against Dolores and them guys on the interior of that Oregon defense?
Yeah, I think they can be successful. I was talking to a player's dad a couple of days ago, and dude, Coach Huff, they've been watching a lot of film. They took those 7 days off just to kind of get ready to get healthy. But I mean, they've been in the weight room. They've been watching film, and they realize that this Oregon defensive line is very stout. So I think what you'll see some double teams, coming from the center guard. You'll also see, the running backs come in and help on pass plays. Get some of those big boys up front with some chips. Same thing with the tight ends. The tight ends are going to chip a lot too. But can we hold up versus Dorless and company? That was kind of my question. And I think I really truly believe we can. We're not going to get pushed around. I'll tell you that. All three with Kalepo, Parker, and Julius Bulow, all those boys have great pass sets, great feet, and as long as we can kind of establish it early, like I think Mike, you said that, establish it early, and I think we can be successful throughout the game.
Yeah, I what you said about the tight ends is going to matter. Izzo, when you're looking at how that offensive line is going to hold up, do you see us going to multiple tight ends to try to beef up that offensive line, especially on running downs?
I do. Because it allows you to create a little bit more as well too. So you can bring in multiple tight ends, and you have the playmakers at tight end, 3-4 guys deep who can all block and who can all catch the pass. So I would not be surprised to see us bring in more tight ends than we've seen so far, and have those guys, like Noah's saying, help out on the offensive line, throw some chips and those different types of things for sure. Yeah.
All right, let's get in a little closer now, because last year UW's offense, I mean, we lit up Oregon in Autzen last year, and so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do the same thing again this year. When we're looking at these player-to-player matchups, what is the first one that really hops off the page to you, and you think is going to be a make or break for this game?
Go ahead, Izzo.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one is Nix versus PENIX. So we've talked about it a lot already, but I think their games are going to be heavily dictated by how much pressure is being put on them, and I think that's no surprise. So, like we talked about with these different blitz packages, I want to see UW bring home a defensive back on a blitz on multiple occasions. I want to see Bo a little bit more uncomfortable, but while he maintains in the pocket. I think what I would like to see is a spy on Nix, and I'd like to see pressure from the outside on those blitzes and have him try to come up the middle, versus him bouncing outside and extending a play. And so I think that's going to be massive in this. And obviously, it's the freaking Heisman race. I mean, I think I saw PENIX had moved his way up to 3, whether that has to do with checkdowns, pass plays, yada yada. But but yeah, Nick's
so real quick, Izzo. So when you're talking about the spies, who do you ideally see spying him for UW? Do you see that being Eddie? Do you see that being somebody faster, maybe like a Dom? Who do you think? Who would you want to see spying him if we're gonna spy?
Sick Eddie on him. Sick Eddie on him the whole game. Have him shadow. You know, Dom's been pretty solid in coverage this year. I'd rather see, if you're going to take a guy out of coverage, it be Eddie. And that's part of the reason why I want to see the pressure come from the outside and then push him up the middle, is because I want to force him into Eddie's direction versus having him get outside, because he's going to beat Eddie in a foot race. Nick's is fast, man. He is. He throws darts and he's fast as hell. So I don't want to see a foot race on the sideline from any of our defenders against Nick's. And so keep him in the middle. Keep him in the box.
If you look at UW's defense, they kind of run this like boundary field type defense. You see like ZTF is our boundary edge, and Trice is our field edge. But then you see the same thing with the safeties, with Asa Nunley and or Dom Hampton.
No, real quick, explain what that means real quick for the layman, so they understand exactly when you say a field edge and a boundary edge.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 2 hashes on the field, right? So the hashes, split the fields up in ideally like 3 sections, right? So if the ball's on, keep the right hash, ZTF is going to end up going to that boundary. He's going to be on that hash closest to the out of bounds line. And then Trice will be where the rest of the field is, right?
On the open side of the field.
Yep, on the open side of the field. Exactly. So where I was going with that is, if you saw in last year's game, dude, we were getting exposed with exactly what Izzo was talking about. Bo Nix was exposing the hell out of us running the ball. And so what did we do? We brought in Alex Cook to kind of be that spy on that last drive. And we brought him in, and you see a couple plays before, he was following him, trying to contain him. And on that huge play that ended up taking him out, dude, that's exactly what we were doing. Was Alex Cook was the spy on him, and he came in on a pressure and just took him out. So to answer your question, I think Eddie could do that, but I think you'll see it kind of change, and we'll try to kind of disguise who the spy is going to be.
Yeah, that's a great call.
Yep. All right, so Noah, I think I know who you're going to talk about. But what's the matchup that you're the most excited to see? Do you think could have the biggest impact in this game as far as player to player?
Yeah, man, the matchup that I'm most excited to see is, and this isn't going to be a matchup that you'll see full time for exactly what I just expressed with the boundary edges and the field edges. But however many times I can see it, I'm going to be honed into this. It's going to be Braylon Trice versus Josh Connolly Jr., man. Obviously, it means a little bit more to all us Husky fans, But, dude, I'll tell you what. I watched a lot of Josh Connolly. And, dude, he's grown a lot in 2 years. I'll tell you what. He struggled in a couple of his bigger games. He graded out around 53. He had a 53 grade against Texas Tech. He had a 55 grade against CU. And if you go look, Braylon Trice by far is the best edge he's seen all year. And if we can expose one of their tackles, I really, really think it has to be Josh Connolly. And I think Braylon Trice is the perfect guy to do it.
Okay. And I actually agree, because he's also, like you said, he might only see Braylon Trice half the time, but then he's got to see ZTF. Yeah, ZTF is no slouch.
Dude, totally. And here's the other thing. I've always said this. You got to remember, dude, Josh Connor's a 5-star offensive tackle out of Seattle, absolute stud. But the thing is, dude, Josh Connolly, he's a beach boy. But Josh Connolly's, I don't know, dude, 19, 20 years old. Dude, Braylon Trice is a grown man, dude. He's 6'4", 274, been in the weight room for 5 years in college. I mean, and what did I say last week about Trice? Dude, he ain't shying away from nobody. Everyone's complaining, hey, man, he's getting held a lot. He is looking for contact. He's looking to jack you up, shuck and shed, and get rid of you. Is he going to be absolutely able to toss Connolly? I don't know about that. But I'm telling you, I think once again, I'd rather have that veteran 22, 23-year-old mindset instead of the 19, 20-year-old Josh Connolly. When, I mean, dude, this is by far the biggest game he's ever going to be in. Dude, he's going to have some serious butterflies coming back home for his homecoming. And, dude, Braylon Trice is the dude who's going to, like, punch him in the mouth right away.
Trice is pissed, too. You know that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Just after these last few weeks, man, I know he probably hopes he had more sacks than he has right now, and he's angry for this game. I can promise you that.
Dude, Josh Connolly, Josh has a lot of potential. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not really trying to talk bad about Josh, but I mean, dude, if you kind of look at their offensive line and where their weaknesses are, you know, Josh is ranked, you know, like about 24th in the country when you go look at like PFF, for example. Roger and Troy are right around 7 and 8. So it just kind of gives you an idea of like, if we're going to attack them, where are we going to attack them? Are we going to bring Trice, you know, with a bull rush, and then bring a cornerback, you know, off the edge and make that young mind, dude, he's got to pick who he's going to get, you know? So that's really the matchup I want to see, is how do we attack JC Jr.?
And I think you compound that by the crowd noise, because I also noticed in the CU game, him jump off sides. Same thing with the Texas Tech game. I believe he jumped off sides as well. So if you can also, like I said, you can disguise blitzes, all that kind of things at him. Get him swimming early, because he's susceptible to jumping off sides. And then maybe we get him to guess wrong, and you get an open shot from a blitzing corner or an outside linebacker or something like that. Or maybe even a stunt where you have somebody like Voy coming around the outside from the inside, you know?
Yep. Dude,
so
don't think the UW coaches aren't dude, they remember losing him to Oregon. Dude, they're just dude, they're just sneaky enough, dude. One of the first plays, you know, if Oregon has the ball early, dude, they come a blitz, and they come a, you know, run some blitz package right at him, guaranteed.
Yeah,
bring Dom off the side on that end.
Yep, exactly.
God, I said that last week too. If one of our 6'6" frames was coming over the middle, we'd be absolutely terrified. I would not want to look to my left and see friggin' Dom Hampton just steaming at me like right off of Braylon Trice's hip. Like, no.
And it's same thing with somebody like Elijah Jackson, who's been really successful blitzing off the edges as well. So I think you can get some of these young guys some confidence by bringing them, but I also think it's going to keep Bo Nix guessing if he doesn't know where the pressure's coming from, and especially when it's going to be so loud that he can't hear the little microphone in his headphone, or the little earbud in his headphones telling him what to do.
Excited, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it really is. It's going to be huge, because there is so much ill will right now in this. I mean, it's been all over Twitter. I'm sure we've all seen it. I mean, I was looking at all the comments on our last podcast. It was all Oregon fans. All Oregon fans, just so angry. Just so angry. What do you mean we haven't won anything? It's like, come on. Come on, bro. All right. Any other matchups that we're really trying to key in on before we start switching over to we're not going to switch off of Oregon, but we're going to get into some of the Discord questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. I know Noah wants to talk a little bit about a wide receiver and a cornerback matchup for sure. But that we took a poll earlier this week, and it was, you know, what do you think the key matchup for this game is, or what do you think is the most deciding factor for UW in this game? 50% of fans said our front seven versus their rushing attack, and I would agree with that, right? To an extent. What I want to see, and like we've talked about endlessly on this podcast thus far, is confuse this offensive front by bringing different packages up in the box. I want to see. I truly, and I know where you don't fully commit to this, otherwise it could burn you, but I want to see us more often than not bring guys up. Like get Bo uncomfortable. No, let him think about that pressure. Let him think about, instead of which receivers are open and all of that type of stuff, where the blitz is coming from, especially early on. Set the tone, bring guys up, and let them try to challenge Jabbar in a safety, Jabbar and Asa over the top. Make Bo uncomfortable. Keep him in the box, but make him uncomfortable. And I think UW's front seven specifically versus Oregon's offensive line, I think we can be disruptive if we just change things up a little bit. If we show them some things that they haven't seen yet, that's not on tape for UW.
Do we know if Thule's playing or not yet?
Here's how I would operate when we think about injuries. And I know they're dropping their injury, newsletters and stuff like that. And Noah's made this point endlessly. These guys came back to UW to play in this game specifically. Like, do I think Thule might be playing at under 100%? Maybe, probably, right? He is not going to miss this game. Man.
All right.
I'll just say it right now. Like he's got to be just fighting, chomping at the bit to get back in this game, especially with his brother who transferred, Sam Taimani, transferred up to Oregon. He does not want to sit. He wants to have a better game than Sam. Docky.
Yep. Yep. All right. Noah, so let's talk about this corner wide receiver matchup that we touched on a little bit, but this is you. Come on.
Yeah, man. Here's what I'll say. The other matchup that I'm just juiced to see, man, is Troy Franklin versus Jabbar Muhammad. And what makes this such an intriguing, matchup to me is I think you have to ask the question. It bodes the question: will UW for the first time actually, have a cornerback trail or move with a running back? With a wide receiver. And dude, Jabbar Muhammad is a bona fide in his first 5 games at least, and we've played some pretty good wide receivers, especially South Arizona. I mean, dude, he's a lockdown corner. That's why we went and got him out of Oklahoma State. He's averaging 8.6 yards a game given up, has multiple pass deflections. That's really kind of what I want to see is will UW do that? And if they do, what does that look like? Because if you can put Jabbar on Troy and not have to have any, over-the-top safety help, not have to have anything underneath because we think we have that lockdown piece, dude, that allows our other parts of our defense to be so free. And what I've always said is this is not an easy defense to learn. That's why having safeties on the back end that truly understand all the play calls, understand all the movement, understand what the offense is showing them, living and breathing in the film room, making sure they see all that is ideal. So can Jabbar, spy Troy Franklin, follow him around the field? Dude, if he can, I'm telling you, man, that's going to be a big, big win for the University of Washington.
Agreed. I think that if we could take that, I think that really limits everything that they can do in their pass game. Now, real quick, before we start, before we get off of Oregon, I actually want to talk about some personal stuff because, like Dion said, it's personal. Is there anything else with the X and O's that you guys want to get into? You want to talk about before we start moving on?
I want to hear this, Mike. I want to hear what you're about to pop off on. Here we go.
Well, So part of the whole fun of this is the rivalry of it all. And, I've been a Husky fan since the 90s, if I'm not dating myself right now. I wanted to ask you guys, what are some of your best memories or most distinct memories from this rivalry over the last 20 years or however long you guys have been watching Husky football? I'll go first so give you guys a chance to think about it. But I know for me, the dark age of Husky football was really tough for me because, and I'm talking 03 to end of Sark era, 2011, 12, whatever. Watched us lose continuously to Oregon for the first time ever. I remember 2016 when we went into Autzen Stadium and hung 70 on them. Jake Browning pointing at them as he was running into the end zone. For me, that was one of those moments where it felt like years and years of just repression were finally released. And I know hanging 70 on them in their home made me feel like we were back. And since then, like I said, it's been a 500 series since then. That's literally been the changing point in and specifically the ending of the dominance that Oregon had for the 15 or so years that they were, or was it a 12 or 15 year winning streak they had against us? So that was one of those things that really stuck out to me. And I'll tell you what, it made me feel like Husky football was back. And so that's the game that I think about when I think about this rivalry and how intense and how much fire is in it. Izzo, what about you?
I've got a lot of memories that I can draw upon. Sure. Like, I mean, just in those 6 years, like some of those losses, even just in the last 6 years, overtime loss where they ran it in, the missed field goal, like, Peyton Henry getting his redemption. I mean, that was. I'll just want to give
that
a
was a good one
shout out there. That was so. I'm so happy for him, man. He gets to end his career with that kick, like. That was awesome. I'm glad he doesn't have to end his career with the missing that field goal. But same game, man. 70-21 in their house. I'll remember this. This part is maybe a little less PG, but I was standing in the section in the UW section. I look over to my right, and we go up by like 4 touchdowns or something like this. And there's a couple UW fans who had snuck in some maybe some paraphernalia, and I look over, the whole section is up in smoke. It's insane, man. This rivalry, he's in there smoking something in the middle of their stadium. It's just like insane. But
smoking some Mr. No.
Oh man, I'll just end on this. I'll distinctly remember leaving the game where they won. They came back with Herbert at Husky Stadium and walking up the stairwell from the 100 level section, and there was a Duck fan sitting with his legs crossed with a cigar in his mouth, laughing at UW fans as they were leaving and exiting the section. And man, I don't know, something about like smoking in the stadium just irritates a lot of me. But yeah, that's what I remember for now, man. Noah, what do you got?
Yeah, man. I think you hit it with. There's just so many memories. This is a rivalry where, as much as you love your own program, own school, dude, I almost hate the Ducks more. Which is like, which is just,
I love it.
Everything about them, it just exudes this like gross feeling. Like it literally churns my freaking stomach, man. It's the glitz and the glamour. It's Uncle Phil. It's Nike, the sweatshops. Everything about them, dude, is
the ugly green uniform.
Dude, but you can't talk about Oregon. ESPN doesn't talk about Oregon. Fox doesn't talk about Oregon with somehow infiltrating Nike, infiltrating Uncle Phil. Oh, they got the best facilities. It's like everything about this rivalry it's like at your core. And I know some people that maybe aren't big sports people. Like there's this guy, everyone knows Mitch Lee, right? Mitch in the morning back on KJR. He's like, sometimes you just wish, especially after a bad loss, you were more into the ballet. I don't know if you ever heard him say that. But his point is, it's because these games just bring so much angst and just fervor and just like this, just who you are. But there's the joys of winning. And then there's also like just the utter downtrodden feeling when you experience defeat. But in the end, man, this game, this rivalry is just, it's unparalleled, man. It really is. And I guess my best memory, man, is we lost, but it was the 2013 Marcus Mariota game. We had Keith Price and Austin Safarian Jenkins. And dude, I went to that game with my pops. My dad passed away about a year ago. But just him being able to experience that as well. He was a big Husky fan, but him being able to experience that, dude, at that game, before the game, we're in E1 tailgating, and there's a 55-gallon drum, and there's this dude roasting dead mallards over a freaking 55-gallon drum. I look at my dad and I go, this hatred runs deep. And it's just fun, man. And that's part of my memories, man. There's so many 70-21, 38-3, whatever that was the year after. I mean, dude, UW's back, Oregon's here, dude, Gameday's here. And man, this is what it's about.
Absolute peak moment of the rivalry. We asked if this was the biggest game in rivalry history. There's no question this is absolutely the biggest game in rivalry history. So much on the line. But, back in our Spaces days, we were kind of realizing, back in our Spaces days, we still go on Spaces all the time. But we were talking with the Duck fans, and we're realizing like this is the absolute pinnacle of this rivalry. Is both teams are top 10 teams. and they're going to be for probably for years to come. So
Yep.
this is it, man. This is it. And this is the year where the most is on the line. The Heisman, CFB, all of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And like you said, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat is so real. And when it comes to this rivalry, it doesn't get much better or much worse, because when it's on the other side of it, oh God, it hurts so bad. It really does. I remember the Jacob Eason.
Don't even bring it up.
I was driving from Boston to New York on tour, and I had the game on my phone, and I thought we were going to take it. And right as we're pulling into the Bronx, we end up losing the game, and it made it hard to perform that night. I'm not going to lie. So, all right, you guys, before we get into the next section for Discord, I just want to let you guys know that Dubbed Up is brought to you by Auto Presents. Go check out autogang.com. All right. Oh, also, make sure you go like, subscribe, and comment on all these. That helps support the Dubbed Up channel. Also, our Discord, where all the best information on Husky football hits first. If you want to know what's going on with Durfee, or if you want to know what's going on with Kalen DeBoer, go check it out. It's free to join the Discord, but if you pay just $8 a month, you can get the VIP information. And not only is there info, there's also a chat, and everybody that's anybody in Husky Twitter is in there, and the chat is always good. So make sure you go and join that Discord, and go like the Twitter or subscribe to the Twitter and all that stuff. So speaking of the Discord, we're about to get in to some of the Discord questions. If you guys are on that Discord, you guys can go in there and ask us questions, and we like to answer them here on Dubbed Up to make sure that if there's anything you want to know, it gets answered now. You guys psyched for this or what?
Let's get after it.
Let's go.
Free Durfee.
All right, fellas.
Free Durfee.
It's the Dubbed Up boys, you know. All right, so the first question in the Discord comes from Little Legionnaire. He says, in light of Tez getting granted eligibility for the remainder of the season, if the same happens for Durfee, then what kind of impact could we see him having? Also, when do we think it might happen, if it's going to happen?
If he were to come back, look, you've got a guy who consistently was brought up literally almost in every single conversation through fall camp, through winter workouts, all of it, spring camp, as the most athletic and striking presence through practice that could be brought up. He was literally brought up every single time. Now, do I think he's going to come in and be JJ Watt? I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm saying that this kid, when he comes back, will add immediate depth to the defensive line, to the edge group, and it's a show-stopping athlete. He can absolutely out-physical, outstrength somebody on any offensive line. Like, he is a freak beast, man. That picture that we put out where it's him behind the prison thing.
Yeah,
it's not too much of an exaggeration. Like, his arms are just absolutely he's huge.
He's a bad boy. Real quick question though for you then regarding that.
Yeah.
And I've had people ask me this. So if, say for some reason we got lucky and they said tomorrow, oh, he's eligible to play. Sure. Is he in game shape? Has he been practicing with the team, or would it be a couple weeks for him to get back into?
No, he's ready to roll.
Swinging things.
Ready to roll. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
One thing with Durfee, you have to remember, and Izzo touched on this. We had heard that he's been a game wrecker in practice. Dude, remember what I said earlier in the podcast? It ain't like we got these, just run of the muck, run of the mill offensive tackles, dude. We got the number 7, number 8 graded offensive tackles in the country, dude. And everything we were hearing was he was giving those boys hell. Like, he was that type of impact player. So, I mean, he would be a huge addition. And you heard Coach DeBoer say, he's going to have to get his, game wits about him, et cetera. But one place that you could see him be like absolutely dynamic, because there's just not a lot of 6'5", 250, 260 pound athletes running around this country, is on special teams. Can you imagine him? Can you imagine him on kickoff team? Can you imagine him helping to set up a wall, on punt, helping to set up a wall on kick return team. I mean, how about him blowing up a wall on punt return team? I mean, he is a force to be reckoned with, man. And dude, when we finally get him back, dude, he'll be a remember me type player. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay. All right. All right. So the next question from the Discord is from Alex. Who are some players on the team that can develop into major contributors next year? Izzo, who are you thinking?
Well, I think we're already seeing it, but love kind of feels like a cop out. But I feel like a lot of the most obvious answers in this question is in the secondary. And maybe it's a cop out just mentally because we're like, well, last year our secondary was so banged up, and that was the area that we wanted to see improve so much, and so we're kind of looking for those guys to step up. But Thaddeus Dixon, Elijah Jackson, Vince Nunley on the defensive side, I think we're already seeing those steps being taken, and they're getting better each week as we move forward. A little deeper of a pull might be like a Tristan Dunn. Kid hits like a Mack truck. We saw him on the Rome punt return for touchdown. I think lay out two dudes on one block. He's just that type of kid. And so to me, those four, you mix in like a Devin Bryant, who's a true freshman inside linebacker whose name will be very recognizable in the coming years for UW on the defensive side.
Okay.
I know I'm totally wrecking this for you because I'm naming like a bunch of guys right now. I'm sorry. But yeah, so those for me, like those are the guys that I think are going to be names that develop into some potential stars for us in the future. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I think the obvious one would be like Tybo Rogers, Denzel Boston, Zach Henning. Those are kind of the three. Zach Henning's a true freshman offensive lineman who is really showing out in camp, whose name maybe a lot of people aren't super familiar with yet. But the idea of him in the progression that I've heard about with how he's looked, alongside the future of Parker Brailsford and Landon Hatchett on the inside of the offensive line, that those three in the middle, I mean, you've locked that up for the next like 3-4 years. Those are solid pieces. So those are the names I'll go with for now.
All right, Noah.
Yeah, no, Izzo kind of hit a lot of those guys. There's two names, and they actually play the same position. I'm really excited to see next year Josh Cuevas and Quentin Moore. And not because it has nothing to do with the guys we have now, because I mean Westy and Culp are absolute studs. But I think it just goes to show you that, like, dude, I'm telling Josh Cuevas, dude, he's a game changer waiting to happen.
As we move on, I know in our world of purple and gold, this seems like the only game that's happening Saturday, but there's actually a lot more on the line. Let's look at what's going on the national stage next or this weekend coming up, and also what's happening in the Pac-12. The first game that really sticks out to me, which actually happens to be a Pac-12 game as well, is number 10 USC playing number 21 Notre Dame. Notre Dame's really trying to get back on the horse because they've kind of been slipping a little bit. Izzo, what do you think? What do you think about the USC game?
Man, I was so close last week.
You were.
Oh man, that sucked.
I was texting you at like 11:30 at night, like,
dude. I was
Izzo, I wanted to call you so bad, but you're at the concert. I'm like, dude, you gotta turn this on, put it on your phone.
Oh man. I was at the concert. I couldn't watch the game, so I was getting updates from these two knuckleheads about yeah, man, USC is begging to get upset before we play them. I pray that USC wins this game, because now that they got past Arizona, I think like the idea that it would be a surprise that they drop a game is now like maybe a little lost its luster a little bit, because they probably should have lost that game to Arizona last week. I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win this game. USC is just begging to lose. Like outside of that, like I'm not going to do much more analysis on it. I think just USC's defense is awful. Like just straight up. Like it's not even like they're like an okay defense and the star is Caleb Williams. Like their defense is garbage. Straight up.
It's soft. Soft. Noah, what do you think?
2 words, 2 names. Audric Estime.
Ooh.
That's the running back. That's the running back at Notre Dame. Dude, he's going for $150.
Ooh.
And they're going to control the clock. They're going to keep Caleb Williams off the field. And I think Notre Dame covers. Everyone's like, have you seen Notre Dame play? I'm like, have you seen USC's defense? Now, if there's any chance that Caleb Williams can will these guys to a victory, at Notre Dame Stadium on NBC, I mean, it really starts to give him that momentum to really like repeat for the Heisman. But dude, I just think Joe Alt, I think Sam Hartman, I just think they got too much juice up front, and I think you're really going to see Notre Dame really run that ball. And I don't know if USC is going to have anything to push back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Caleb Williams has like 27 touchdowns right now. It's absolutely insane. It makes no sense at all. And I think he may be primed to repeat his Heisman if it's not Penix.
Hey, let me ask you this really quick on that point. Very quick. I didn't look at the end of the line stat sheet, but Caleb Williams only had 1 touchdown. How many yards did he throw for against Zona? Do we know offhand?
I probably can find it real quick for you.
The reason I bring that up was just because I wondered how that affected the Heisman odds for Mike, because the knock was that Mike didn't throw a touchdown against Arizona, and then Caleb Williams only threw 1.
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, so Caleb Williams was 14 of 25, completed 14 passes in a triple overtime game. 14 of 25 for 219. Had 1 touchdown. He had 12 carries for 41 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game.
There we go. The running 4 touchdown game.
Huh.
So, yeah, there's something that Jed Fish is doing that, and I think it's Johnny Nansen, Tequila Johnny Nansen, dude, but Johnny Patron or whatever the heck they call that guy. He's got a night that little drop 7, drop 8 scheme. It shuts him down. It hasn't got him a victory yet, but it shut down the top 2 Heisman guys back-to-back weeks in the sense of touchdowns. But dude, there's a big difference between 219 and 300 plus. So, especially in a triple overtime game too.
That's real. That's very real. What a game though. What a great game. If Flo doesn't have that bonehead penalty, I don't think they get out of there with the win.
Are you that surprised though?
No, I'm really not. I'm really not. He's a hothead. I'm going to stick with you, Noah, because the next game that I'm looking at is Wyoming, who's been surprisingly really good against your alma mater, Air Force.
The Bull Brotherhood, baby.
Hey, break it down for me. Break it down for me.
Yeah, man. Just as excited, and like I said, praise the Lord that this game's in Montlake. Dude, praise the Lord that this game's at Falcon Stadium on the shadows of the Rampart Range, man. I don't like going up into Wyoming. Nobody likes going to the Laramie, man. Laramie's windy. Laramie's at elevation. And so is Air Force. But man, it's a very interesting game to me because you hit it. I mean, dude, Air Force is 5-0. I wouldn't say they have any crazy good wins, but I mean, San Diego State, is usually a pretty good team. They absolutely boat raced San Diego State 49-10. And don't forget, Wyoming beat Texas Tech week 1.
Yep.
So, dude, Wyoming's no pushover, but this game is 10. Vegas loves Air Force in this game. Air Force is a 10-point favorite. Here's my prediction.
Here we go.
Air Force wins, but Wyoming covers.
Okay. What would you say the spread was?
10.5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And here's what makes this even more interesting for you sports betting lovers. Dude, the over-under on this is 42.5 with a 10-point spread. So I mean, where I'm going with that is it's not that often that you see such a high spread with such a low scoring prediction, a low total, right? So I like Air Force to win, but Wyoming to cover.
Okay. All right. Izzo, do you have any thoughts on Wyoming versus Air Force?
I spent
Izzo, don't do anything other than Air Force, baby.
I spent 3.5 hours poring over this game. It was
I know you did. I know you did.
And you know what? I see Wyoming not only covering but beating Air Force by 10 easily. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I'm copping out. Air Force is like one of the highest graded one of the highest graded teams in the country right now. So I have no reason to pick them over pick Wyoming over Air Force. I got Air Force.
Yeah, it'll probably be a good game regardless. Next up, we have number 12 UNC playing number 25 Miami, who, Miami's coming off a bad loss. They thought that they looked like they were charging, and Mario's boys stumbled and fell. How do you guys see Miami going into Chapel Hill and trying to beat Drake May and the Tar Heels?
This is gonna be an ugly game, boys. Very ugly.
Yeah.
And when I say ugly, I think Drake May and the Tar Heels are gonna absolutely blitz Miami, big time. I think that a loss like that, where you should have kneeled the ball but you end up losing, dude, I think that it's gonna dude, he could lose his team on something like that, and I'm serious. The spread's only 3.5, but I'm telling you right now, Izzo, we're taking that game, brother. We're taking that game.
All right.
Tar Heels.
I'll follow you.
Well, you know what's crazy? That wasn't Mario's first time doing that. He did the same thing at Oregon. That's ridiculous. What a ridiculous way to lose a game.
Yep. It's I think so. There's another piece here. Getting Tez Walker back opens up that offense completely. You saw, I think Drake May threw for 4 touchdowns, 400 yards last game. You can see how impactful he is. I'm going to give Izzo a shout out here, dude. Dude, Cephas and Tez Walker at Kent State last year. Dude, we talk about spaces, right? Dude, we watched that game, and Izzo and I were like, we were on the spaces right after that game, and we're like, dude, those wide receivers, dude, those aren't Kent State MAC wide receivers. Like, those guys are dudes. And we were both like, I think Izzo especially was like, dude, those guys will both play on Sundays. And I think we got a lot of pushback on spaces. Like, come on. They're
trying to gas
good.
up the opponent. Yep. You guys played Kent State. All of a sudden,
dude, come to find out. Yeah. I mean, Cephas is at where is Quentin Cephas? No, not Quintus Cephas. He's the that's the Lions guy. But where is Cephas? Where is he at? Do you know? He transferred to a pretty good school as well. I think he's at is he at Penn State? He's at Penn State. He's at Penn State, and Tez Walker just got eligible, and he's at UNC. So, dude, I'm telling you, UNC big in that game. Drake May's going off.
Well, this whole misconception that if you're not playing Power 5 right away, that you're not a guy. It's like, man, there's a lot of guys for a myriad of reasons that play lower level football that are every bit as good as people at the D1 level.
Absolutely.
And I think just sometimes it's getting into the right system. Sometimes it's just, hey, I got to get over these academic issues so I can get up and play. So I guess if they were doubting you, it's whatever. It is what it is. So we're all seeing UNC beating up Miami at home.
I think it's going to be closer than Noah does, but yeah, I think UNC is going to take it. That them getting Walker back just injects a whole lot of momentum into their program, and I agree with you guys in that that game, the way that they blew that is not a type of loss where you kind of like let's rally on it. It's not a rallying loss. It was just completely dismantling momentum. And if we know anything about Mario Cristobal, we know that in-game decisions is not a strong suit for him. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't see Miami winning that game. I think it'll be closer than expected because I think Miami's actually a pretty talented team. But yeah, same reasons as you guys. I'm gonna go with UNC, especially at home.
Okay. As we look at the Pac-12, we have some really good games coming up. I know the first one I'm looking at right now, it's not a great game as far as on paper, but it's Colorado and Stanford. Colorado barely got out of Arizona State with a win last week. How do we see Colorado playing Stanford? Do we see this as a complete bounce back game? Shedeur Sanders throwing for 500 yards and them walking out with a 50 burger, or do we see Stanford making it interesting?
For me, I mean, I think I'm trying to look this up, but aren't doesn't Colorado get their big, both way player back? What I'm totally
Hunter,
losing.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter, yeah. I think this is Travis Hunter's game that he's back.
Oh.
I wonder if Prime will try to, break him in, or if Travis Hunter says, I'm ready to go, and they try to unleash the fury on the lowly Stanford Cardinals.
He returned to practice today.
Okay, yeah. So this game's at Folsom Field, 7 p.m., late night game, little ESPN after dark. I also think that the Stanford quarterback, Ashton Daniels, is out as well. So, man, I don't know. I probably will take Colorado -12 in this game. I probably won't touch it betting wise, but I'm probably taking Colorado -12.
Exact same.
Yeah.
Exact same there. Wouldn't be interested in certainly not placing money on that game just because Stanford, and they like all of a sudden will just figure it out one night and like beat a team that they shouldn't.
Like UW.
or they give Oregon fits randomly all the time. Yeah, I'm aligned with you there. Colorado, if Travis Hunter is back, even if he plays one side, like if they just work him in on the offense or the defense, whichever they choose, that is where Dion can actually have like he can rally a team around something like that, whereas like a Mario Cristobal couldn't, right? Yep. Is that Dion can play that up definitely within that locker room and get those guys playing well. So yeah, get the right game.
I feel like Colorado's kind of similar to Arizona in a few ways, where they have that really big explosive offense that can put up a lot of points if needed. I think they're definitely susceptible on defense, but I feel like that number of wins for Colorado has actually boosted up, where at first I thought it was 5 or 6. Now I'm starting to think it might be 6, 7 is kind of like where that number is probably sitting. And I think there is a good chance at 8 wins for them, which I think is huge for that Colorado program after a 1-11 year. So I think this is going to be I think Schitterer and them are going to go and hang a bunch of points on them because they're frustrated from the losses that they suffered.
I'll say this. I think Colorado is going to be just fine against inferior opponents. And I think they play very well into ensuring that their stars do very good, which has typically been Shedeur Sanders. And I think they can beat up on teams. What I would push back on is I think they play like a bunch of really good teams at the end of their schedule. And so I wonder, I don't know if 8 wins is in the cards for them, but I definitely see them as bowl eligible and potentially winning 7. But I couldn't see 8 for them unless you include the bowl game that they're in. But unless they're also in that Peach Bowl, if they get the Peach Bowl invite, regardless of their record, they might get blown out in that. Peach Bowl.
I saw that, and there's no question that their TV numbers are like crazy, like the biggest TV numbers ever.
For sure.
So like a good game's like, and I'm totally gonna butcher this, but like a good game's like 3 million or 3.5 million or something.
That's
one of their games. Yeah, didn't one of their games get like, I don't even want to say it because I know like Doug Scott's gonna freaking call me out or something. But it's like, isn't it like 15 million or something crazy that?
No. So the highest game ever, I think, was 17 million, and that was like an Ohio State Michigan game or something like that. This year they have 2 of the top 10 biggest games of all time. They had the Colorado State had like 9.3 million people that watched it, which is just actually makes 0 sense. And then the game against what was the game? The
Oregon
probably. The Oregon game was like 12 or 15 million. It was a ridiculous number. And it's because they're, like I said, everybody's got stake and everybody's very curious to see what Dion and his team are going to do, because he's 4-2 right now. And I don't care who you are. Most of us didn't see that happening at this point. I think RJ Young might be the only one who saw that happening at this point.
Dude, the truth is, really quick on that, is if there was any way for Colorado to just at least kind of hang around in that Oregon game, I actually still think you would have heard a ton more juice about Colorado. That Oregon game, I think really, really hurt like the Prime effect.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what we were talking about, like with their schedule, they have to win this game because they'll go to 5-2, and then they play at UCLA, Oregon State. Then I think we all know that Arizona's legit. Then they play Wazoo in Pullman, and then they end the schedule with Utah. Like, there's a really, really, in my opinion, a great chance that they beat Stanford and then they lose 5 in a row.
That could happen.
That looks like a 6-6 type year. Just praying they get one of those last 5 games to me.
It's a gauntlet.
Yeah. So let's stick with Utah, because Utah is playing Cal. Are they getting Cam Rising back this week, or are we still waiting to hear on that?
I haven't been following that, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Let me look at it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you can, Mike, look that up. But I mean, I swear from have we heard he's back? I think he's been back for every week the last 3 weeks. Like, I'm serious. Like, I think I think this is the week Cam Rising will be back. And then the random college football national pundit shows like, yeah, my inside source in Salt Lake is saying Rising's, he's been practicing all week, and then game time, here comes Nate Johnson. So it's like, even if you find something that says he's back, I mean, good luck with that.
No, everybody's it's a question that seems to be everywhere is, will he be starting? And nobody seems to have an answer.
Yeah. Another factor that should be considered here is whether or not that there's agent in his ear suggesting that he doesn't come back, because there's some, I've heard some stuff about that. I'll just leave it there.
Okay. I mean, he's like a 12th year senior, right? He's like 35 years old. No. Okay. What I'm saying is he can't stick around and play another year if he didn't get healthy, right?
Well, I think
he definitely
he gray shirt. Yeah, he
absolutely
gray shirt if he doesn't come back and then have a full season, and then it's, do you transfer?
I guess. Well, I guess
I see Izzo. I see where you're going, bro.
Yeah.
That's right. Like an agent. You think agent when you say like, oh, NFL agent, you're more like an NIL agent saying like, dude, you could probably go get a bag at a different university. Just don't play this year.
Yeah. And then do you risk getting hurt if you come back, or do you get that bag?
Well, it's also there's far less competition next year in the quarterback class than there is this year. This year is stacked at the quarterback.
Cam Rising, the 2024 starting quarterback at the University of Washington.
No, thanks.
I'm kidding.
So do we think Cal has any sort of a chance against going into Utah? I don't know about you guys, but I don't see Cal having any sort of chance going into Utah.
Dude, Rice, for me, man, I'll say this with anybody, man. Going into Rice-Eccles is a tough place to play, man. Cal does some weird stuff, but man, I don't think they can get a W in Rice-Eccles. Once again, this line's 13.5. I probably wouldn't touch that game just because I don't really care that much, to be honest with you.
Fair.
Yeah. All right.
I think I'll say this. I don't think it's like a total impossibility that Cal does something here. I think they showed, at least UW, that they have some ability, even if it was against most of it against our 2 deeps or 3 deeps. Do I think that Cal is going to win this game? No. But do I think they could keep it close? Yeah. I
possibly. Do. Especially since Utah doesn't have a quarterback. At least not anyone that can do anything.
Dude, can I say something really quick that I just noticed on this game? Just I think people are interested. Sorry. I just saw this as I'm looking at this. If I said to you one team averages 433 yards a game and one team averages 297 a game, total offense, who would you think I'm talking about?
Cal averages over 420 yards a game.
They average 433 a game.
Holy.
And Utah averages only 297.
I mean, that stat doesn't actually surprise me because Utah's offense has been like borderline non-existent, but the fact that Cal is averaging 430 yards a game is like pretty impressive.
Well, they're so balanced. And they're so balanced. They're 216, 217, 216 passing, 217 rushing a game.
Well, and also for being the number 10 team in the Pac-12, they're still a 500 team. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think that more speaks to how strong our division is, because if our number 10 team is a 500 team and is averaging 400 yards of offense a game,
I might take Cal to cover if it's you said 13.
Dude, yeah, 13.5, bro. Buy that thing to 14, and I might hit that game with you.
All right, so let's move on from this, because these next two games actually are pretty damn interesting. This one, especially for us as Husky fans, we know how good Arizona actually is. They're going into the Palouse to play the Cougs, who are coming off a hard loss. How do we see this playing out, fellas? Because that's an interesting game. That's two high-powered offenses.
Interesting game. I mean, take the over, whatever it is. Those offenses are nasty, and I don't think their defenses are going to be able to keep up. I might choose Arizona. I'm going to pick upset alert again.
Up.
I got Arizona. I'm taking Arizona to win that. I wish I had my glasses. Where are they at?
You do the Geno. Just do the Geno. Use your hands.
Oh, okay. No, hold on. Here we go. I found some other ones.
What are those?
These are my Poindexters right here. Arizona beating the Cougs in Pullman. Book it.
Book it.
Hey, can I throw a little interesting insight into this game that just came out, I think, today?
Please do.
Noah Fafita has had his two, very nice games versus UW and USC. Jed Fitch today said that Jaden DeLora will start this game.
Oh, dang. And
so obviously, So obviously, I know I wanted to cut you off, but you were in your moment. You brought your glasses out. You're looking all sexy. Trying to, Clark Kent. So, but I get the the scoring lover. Jaden DeLora is going back into Pullman, but man,
that seems.
I think I like Arizona a lot more with Noah Fafita. Yeah, dude, I really do. Like, I think the guys, more than anything, not even talking quarterback play, I think the guys rally around Noah Fafita more.
Well, and the DeLora thing is going to add juice for the Wazoo side, because
totally
they felt abandoned, and I mean DeLora abandoned them. He did exactly what he did. He planted that flag in the UWW and then dipped.
This is a mistake, man. This is a mistake. Put Fafita back in. That kid is legit.
Well, I think you could see that happen if DeLora struggles.
Yeah.
If DeLora struggles,
how long's that leash?
I think if they're down 2 scores by the second quarter, I could see that being real quick, because Fafita was, I'll tell you what, he impressed me. He impressed me. Yeah.
We'll take him.
Yep. He's got that Kyler Murray. All right. Real quick, y'all. Last game on the docket here before we take the outro here and wait for Saturday is number 18 UCLA going into Corvallis to play the Beavs. I think this is the matchup. 2 real strong defensive teams playing each other. Izzo, how do you see this shaking out?
Man, I had a lot of faith in Oregon State. And I thought maybe a little bit more of their defense than what I saw. So the UCLA pass rush and their defense is playing really, really well. I think they might be the third best behind UW and Oregon. I think they might be the third best team in this conference, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take UCLA in that game.
No. The nice thing about taking UCLA, you're going to get 4 points as well. So yeah. Oregon State's favored by 4, over under total 55. A little bit like Rice Eccles, definitely not as crazy, not as electric, but Research Stadium's a tough place to play, and they have a lot of good upsets kind of on their resume in Research Stadium. So, man. Do I have to pick one? Can I just take the under?
I like to pick one. Go against me.
I like under 55. Is it a Friday night game? Tell me no. It's 5 p.m. on Fox. Wow, primetime game on Fox, 5 o'clock. Gosh, man, Give me Oregon State. Screw it.
Yeah,
I think UCLA.
I liked
probably
Oregon State
wins
going into the year. So
yeah. I just don't. I don't think Oregon State's that good on defense, man. I really don't.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I really don't, man. It's kind of like, can you score with us? Like that was the big thing. Is like, can you go into Research Stadium and play against like this Jonathan Smith? I'm kind of changing the subject here, but I don't know if their defense is like they lost Omar Spates to LSU. Yeah. They lost a couple cornerbacks to the NFL. Dude, I just don't think they reloaded enough to be that good especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I'll take Oregon State just to be different, but I haven't been that impressed with them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really saw UCLA being. I knew they were going to have that pass rush with Latu, but I didn't realize they were going to be this good on defense. That's a toss-up. That is really a toss-up. I think it being in Corvallis might give the edge to Oregon State, but I think if this game was in Southern California, I think you might give the edge to UCLA. That's how close it is. All right. Is there any other games that you guys want to holler about before we get out of here?
No. Yeah. One.
I
want score predictions for Molly. Give me a score prediction, boys. Come on. You want me to go first or Izzo? Izzo, go ahead, Izzo.
Izzo.
I'll start. I think I'm going to be straight up, man. I thought after before I dug into watching a ton of Oregon, I watched probably 2 full games of Oregon this year ahead of doing the research that I did. And I'll be honest with you, I'm more nervous than I thought I would be. And I really think there is a non-zero chance that something crazy happens and we lose in this game. And I don't think that fans should be feeling ultra comfortable, because I do think it's a game where this kind of is a cop out, but it's going to come down to some things like the football rolling the right way and some different stuff like that. I see a path for UW for sure, more so than I do for Oregon, and that's going to be reflected in my score prediction. But UW's they've got to execute on something that we haven't seen them do against a very good team, which Oregon is a very, very good team. It's the best team we'll play this year. Most complete team that we'll play this year. And there's some things that have to go right for UW here. And otherwise you can come up and get bit, man. And so, I would say UW has a 60% chance, 65% chance to win this game. And my pick's 41-35, 42-35 will be my pick. I think we're going to win by a touchdown. but man, if there's a couple mistakes here, then we could come up and get bit. So I'm not super comfortable in this game. I'm nervous about it, but do I think UW's going to win? Yes, I do. 42-35. Noah.
Let's go, baby. Glasses are on.
Less serious.
No-no's here. Uncle No-No's in the building. Here's my prediction. You've heard me say it once. You've heard me say it twice. The game's on Montlake. It's going to be the Electric Factory. 72,000 absolute nutty fans, baby. It's going to be loud. Like I said, drink your beers. Let's have a game. 38-27 dogs.
Oh, man.
Okay.
10 plus point win. I love it.
Yep.
38-27, baby.
Yep. And so this is what I think. I think this is the game where you see UW take that step from being a really good team, an elite team, to one of the best in college football. I think the defense is going to come to play. I think the weather's going to play a role in it. I think 44-25, the boys in purple are going to come through. They're going to show the country who the number 1 team in America is.
Let's go, Mike.
That's what I think.
Hold on,
that's
Mike.
That's the hot take.
On with that take, baby. Put some glasses.
That's my take. I'm doing the Gino right here. The Gino Suarez right here. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm feeling about it. Yeah, and I think we've been waiting for this, and it finally happened. So, all right, you guys. that has been it. I have my guys, Izzo, my guy Noah. Make sure you guys go join our Discord. Go sign up with us on Twitter. This is the place to be for Husky football. It's dubbed up. There ain't nobody out there, even the University of Washington, that's doing what we're doing here at Dubbed Up. So make sure you go like, subscribe, leave comments. Make sure you follow us because we're going to be giving you not just all the best news, but we got Mr. No-No here really breaking down how good we are. So for my fellas, I just want to say it's going to be a purple Saturday. Go Dogs.
Let's go, baby. Go Dogs.
Let's go, baby. You done, baby. Duck hunt season. Let's go, boys.
Go.
Go Dogs.